the glass surface of my desk, cold and sleek, nothing like the worn wooden table I used to do homework on as a child. Outside my apartment window, the skyline of New York gleams in the afternoon light, distant and untouchable, just like my family. I don't answer. I haven't answered the last 4 calls either. 3 seconds later, an email notification pops up. Subject line, "Your sister needs you, last chance. It's from my father." I open it with a familiar mix of dread and disbelief. The words blur together, but one line stands out in bold clarity. Ashley's wedding is the most important event of her life. Be there or forget about any future support. A voicemail follows. I play it on speaker. "Emily, it's your father. This little act of yours has gone on long enough. Your sister's wedding is in 2 weeks. If you can't put aside your issues for Ashley's special moment, don't bother counting on us for anything else." I laugh, quiet and bitter. They only remember I exist when they need me. Have you ever felt that way? Growing up in the Parker household was like living in a spotlight you never got to stand under. My younger sister Ashley was the star, the sun, the center of the family's orbit, and I was the background, the one who learned to be quiet, efficient, invisible. I still remember the day I brought home a perfect report card in 5th grade. Straight A's. I clutched it with both hands, practically buzzing with pride. Mom barely glanced at it from behind her magazine and mumbled, "That's nice, honey." That same evening, Ashley walked in with a participation ribbon from her school play. The living room erupted in applause. "Did you see how she projected her voice?" Dad beamed. "She was the best one up there." I sat on the stairs, holding my report card, watching the celebration. It was always like that. I won first place at the regional science fair in 10th grade for a project analyzing local water quality. Principal Harris handed me the award and said, "Your parents must be proud." I smiled and nodded. But the chairs where they should have been were empty. They'd gone to Ashley's soccer game instead. She scored 1 goal. They talked about it for weeks. Senior year, I got accepted into the University of Chicago, full scholarship, the kind of moment kids dream of. My hands were shaking when I opened the letter. When I showed Mom, her forehead creased with worry. "Chicago? That's so far. Ashley might feel bad if you go there while she's attending community college." Dad didn't even look up from his newspaper. "We've discussed this. You'll stay local. End of story." I didn't argue. I'd already learned that arguing didn't work. Instead, I created a paper trail of fake registration documents for the local college and quietly packed my things. 2 weeks later, I boarded a bus to Chicago with 2 suitcases and a heart full of equal parts fear and hope. That was the first time I chose myself. It took years, but I built a life on my own terms. I worked part-time, studied late into the night, and graduated top of my class in data science. Now, I work as a product analyst in Manhattan, earning a 6-figure salary, living in a high-rise apartment with a view I used to only see in magazines. But I never told them. Not because I was ashamed, but because I knew it wouldn't matter. They were never interested in who I was becoming, only in what I could do for them when it was convenient. So when they call now, when they demand that I show up, I can't help but think back to all the times they didn't. Have you ever grown up in a house where love was earned, not given? Where achievements were met with silence and mediocrity was celebrated? As long as it came from the golden child. That kind of upbringing doesn't leave scars, it leaves blueprints. The day I left home, no one knew I was actually leaving. They thought I was moving into the dorms at the local state university just 20 minutes away. That's what I let them believe. I even printed out a fake class schedule, created a dummy student portal, and left a copy of it in plain view just in case they ever asked. But my bus ticket said otherwise. It took me 12 hours and 2 transfers to get to Chicago. I arrived exhausted, terrified, and absolutely free. I rented a tiny studio with a leaky sink and a heater that clanked all night. My bed was a twin air mattress that slowly deflated as I slept. My first month, I lived on instant noodles and dollar coffee, but I had something I'd never had before: space to breathe, space to exist. I worked 2 part-time jobs while attending classes full-time. I learned how to stretch $20 for a week's worth of groceries, how to say no when my classmates invited me out, how to cry quietly in the library bathroom when everything felt like too much. But I also learned that I was capable of more than anyone had ever given me credit for. By my junior year, I'd landed a paid internship with a fintech startup. By senior year, they'd offered me a full-time position starting right after graduation. I walked across the stage in a borrowed cap and gown, summa cum laude, with a job offer in my hand and 0 debt in my name. I didn't invite my family to the ceremony, not because I was being spiteful, but because they wouldn't have come. Or worse, they would have come and found some way to make it about Ashley. So, I celebrated quietly with the few friends who had become my chosen family. We ate pizza, drank sparkling water out of wine glasses, and danced in the hallway of my apartment building. That night, for the first time, I looked in the mirror and didn't see the invisible girl. I saw a woman who had defied every low expectation, who had rewritten the story that was written for her, who didn't need to be seen by them to know she mattered. And for a while, that was enough. Until the phone started ringing again. 3 years of silence, 3 years of peace. Until suddenly, they needed me again. The calls started 2 weeks before Ashley's wedding. First it was Mom, soft-voiced, dancing around the real ask. Then came Dad, direct, impatient, commanding. They weren't calling to reconnect. They weren't calling because they missed me. They were calling because they needed a prop. Your sister's wedding is a huge deal. My father's voicemail echoed through my apartment. Family needs to show up. If you can't be bothered to support her, then don't expect anything from us in the future. I stared at the phone in my hand. No apology, no acknowledgement of the years that had passed, of what they'd missed. Not my graduation, not my promotion, not my life. Just expectations, just guilt. I opened my calendar. Ashley and Ryan wedding extravaganza was highlighted in red. 14 days of parties, dinners, and photo shoots. A circus for the golden child's perfect day. I checked my bank account. $138,000 in savings. More than enough to never need their future support. They didn't know that, of course. A memory surfaced. 3rd grade, holding up my report card with all A's. Mom barely glanced up. That same night, they celebrated Ashley's Best Smile award from her dance class, like she'd cured cancer. I had been invisible for so long. And now, suddenly, I mattered, not because of who I was, but because they needed me to play a role. I closed the banking app and opened an airline website. I wasn't going for them. I was going for me. For the first time, I would walk back into that house not as the forgotten daughter, but as the woman they never took the time to know. And this time they would see me. The driveway still had the same uneven gravel that crunched beneath my rental car tires, but everything else had changed, or at least been carefully disguised. White roses cascaded down porch railings draped in ivory fabric. The house I once tiptoed through now looked like a page torn from a bridal magazine. Picture perfect, stage ready. My mother opened the door before I knocked. Her hair was the exact shade of honey blonde it had always been, just with a little more effort now. Her hug was brief, almost formal, measured, like everything she did. "Emily," she said, as if surprised I'd really come. "Decided to support your sister, I see." Inside, the house smelled like vanilla candles and fresh paint. Every surface had become a staging area. Flower arrangements, welcome bags, programs. It was less a home now, more a production. Dad emerged from his office, glasses perched on his nose. He didn't greet me. Didn't ask how I was. Just handed me a clipboard. "The welcome bags need assembling. Programs folded. Ashley wants them done by 4. I hadn't even taken off my coat. Good to see you too, Dad. He didn't respond. Ashley appeared at the top of the stairs, on the phone, barking instructions. No, I said cascading, not gathered. This is literally ruining everything. She saw me, held up a finger, and kept talking. When she finally descended, she air-kissed the air beside my cheek. Thank God you're here. The caterer's threatening to quit and Mom's having a meltdown over the seating chart. Nice to see you too, Ashley. She waved me off. Elliot's planning a surprise for the reception. I need to make sure it fits the aesthetic. Elliot? I asked. My fiancé, she said, rolling her eyes. Like, I should have known. Crypto genius. You'll meet him at dinner. Dinner came. Elliot arrived precisely at 6:30, with a designer wine bottle, a Rolex, and a smile that didn't quite touch his eyes. He shook my hand with too much force. So, this is the elusive sister, he grinned. Ashley says you're some kind of data wizard hiding in the big city. Product analyst, I corrected. Fancy, we should talk. I'm building an AI-powered trading platform. Big stuff, real disruptive. I nodded politely. But something about him, the charm, the buzzwords, the way he dominated every conversation, felt off. Very off. I've spent the last 5 years analyzing patterns for a living, financial data, user behavior, anomalies that most people would miss. It's my job to spot red flags. And Ryan Caldwell was waving an entire parade of them. Over dinner, he spoke in loops, vague jargon, private exchanges, decentralized wealth funnels, guaranteed returns. My father hung on every word, nodding like he understood. Ashley beamed like she'd won the lottery. I asked simple questions. So, which platforms do you trade on? Ryan paused. Mostly private networks, high-level stuff. You wouldn't know them. Who regulates them? They're decentralized, he smiled. That's the beauty of it. My father cut me off with a sharp glance. Emily, not everyone wants to talk business over dinner. But I couldn't let it go. Something about Ryan felt rehearsed, like a man who knew just enough to sound impressive and nothing more. Later that night, looking for extra copies of the wedding program, I wandered into Dad's study. That's when I saw it. Mortgage refinancing papers, signed 3 weeks ago. The house nearly paid off, had been remortgaged for a significant amount. All in my father's name. I froze. The voice in the dining room from earlier came rushing back. $15,000 is nothing for what he's offering, my father had said. That nothing was everything. The house, their savings, Mom's retirement fund. All funneling into a man none of them really knew. In that moment, I didn't feel angry. I felt numb, like watching a slow-motion car crash, one I saw coming and couldn't stop. I wasn't just the forgotten daughter anymore. Now I was the only one paying attention. And something told me I needed to start digging. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at the small desk in the guest room, Ashley's old room now converted into a shrine of bridal magazines and monogrammed towels, and started digging. Public records, business registries, Reddit threads, social media posts from different states, different names, same smile. Ethan Lewis, Edward Lambert, Elliot Lawson, now Ryan Caldwell. Same pitch, same patterns, same disappearances, always days before the wedding. In the morning, I went to the local coffee shop, just like I used to in high school. My laptop buzzed with open tabs and late-night screenshots. The waitress, Margie, refilled my cup and peered at my screen. "That guy looks familiar," she said. "My cousin got scammed by someone like him, called himself Edward something, took everything before the wedding." I nodded slowly. "Lambert?" Her face paled. "Yeah." That night I gathered everything, bank statements, screenshots, victim testimonials, even a signed statement from one of his former fiancés. I laid it all out on the living room coffee table. My parents stared in silence, Ashley clutched a throw pillow like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Ryan stood with his arms folded, expression unreadable. "This is a mistake," he said, voice calm. "I have a common face. People mix me up all the time." 3 women, 3 states, same story, same photo. This isn't confusion, it's a pattern. Ashley shot up from the couch. "Are you serious? You came all this way just to ruin the happiest week of my life?" "I came because you're being conned." "You've always hated me," she shouted. "You couldn't stand that I found someone who actually wants me." "No," I said quietly. "I just want you to be safe." Dad stood. "That's enough. You've made your point." "No," I said again, firmer this time. "You've spent your whole life not listening to me, but this time, you're going to hear it." I looked at Ashley. "When he disappears with your money, your home, your future, remember that someone tried to stop it." Their faces were stone. I gathered my evidence, returned everything to the folder, and walked out. They didn't want the truth. They wanted their illusion. And I was done being the one to shatter it. 2 days before the wedding, my phone lit up with 17 missed calls. The first voicemail was from Dad. His voice, always so composed, so certain, cracked on the 3rd word. "He's gone." I played the second message. Mom, barely holding it together. "The accounts are empty. Everything. Even my retirement fund." He vanished in the middle of the night. The 3rd one came from Ashley. "You were right. I didn't listen. Please, help us." I stood in my kitchen, coffee growing cold in my hand. Lakeview, through the window, calm and endless. I had never felt so many things at once. Vindicated, heartbroken, angry, exhausted. This wasn't about revenge. It was about boundaries. My mentor, Vivian, answered after 1 ring. "They finally believe me," I told her. "Now they want my help." "And what do you want?" she asked gently. I didn't answer right away, because I didn't know. For so long, I had wanted to be seen, to be heard, and now they were listening, only because they had no choice. "Boundaries," she said. "They aren't walls, Emily, they're doors. You get to decide who walks through." That night, I booked a flight home. A different kind of homecoming. No grand luggage, no folded programs, just 3 changes of clothes and a clear understanding of who I was walking into that house, as not the daughter who always forgave, not the sister who always fixed everything, just me, with a voice, with limits, and a decision to make, one that would change everything. The wedding tent was half dismantled when I arrived. Wilting flowers lined the porch railings like a memory no one wanted to admit was real. Stacks of white chairs leaned against the fence, untouched. The silence was thicker than grief. My mother opened the front door before I could knock. She looked older, makeup-free, her voice softer, unsure. "You came," she said. Her arms hovered, expecting a hug. I didn't step forward. Inside, my father paced the living room, phone pressed to his ear. He hung up when he saw me, his eyes immediately scanning the designer handbag, the watch on my wrist. Calculating. "We thought perhaps you might be able to assist," he started, "financially, just until we—" My mother wrung her hands. "The community will talk. Your father's the HOA president." Ashley was curled up on the couch in one of my old high school sweatshirts. She looked at me without accusation. Just emptiness. "If you'd been more supportive," she said quietly, "maybe I would have listened." There it was, the old dance, the subtle blame, the expectation that I'd step in, fix it all, pretend it hadn't happened. I set my bag down and unbuttoned my coat. "I can help with some things," I said, voice steady, "but not everything." My father straightened. "Emily, I can help file police reports. I can connect you with a financial fraud attorney. I know someone who specializes in recovery for victims like this." I held up one finger. But I will not empty my savings, I will not co-sign loans, and I will not cover up what happened to protect your pride." The room fell silent. "This family supported you your whole life," my father snapped. "No," I said, laughing once. "You did the legal minimum: food, shelter, silence." Ashley blinked, tears welling in her eyes. "I'll stay 3 days," I added. "I'll help you navigate the legal mess. But I won't pretend this didn't happen. And I won't let you rewrite me into the obedient daughter who saved the day." My father tried again. "When did you become this person?" "When you weren't looking." Boundaries are not cruelty. Sometimes they're the only path to survival. 1 year later, I live in a small craftsman bungalow on the edge of a quiet neighborhood just outside the city. The walls are lined with soft light and old wood. It's not flashy, not expensive, but it's mine. The diploma that once hid behind winter coats now hangs above my desk, centered, unmoving. Bachelor of Science, Data Science, summa cum laude. No longer a secret, no longer hidden. On Wednesdays, I teach financial literacy at a local community center, mostly for young women, many of them first-generation college students like I was. Some of them remind me of who I used to be: eager, quiet, desperate to be seen. Last week, Tanya, 17, sharp, full of fire, showed me a text her mother received from a business investor. She looked at me and said, "Something feels off." We pulled up the numbers. It didn't add up. She spotted it before the scam could begin. "You saved her," I said. She shook her head. "You did. You taught me to notice." Sometimes healing looks like that. Small wins passed on to the next person. Knowledge used to build armor. My phone buzzes once a month now. A short text from Aunt Rachel. Updates, but nothing more. My parents are still trying to refinance. Ashley's working part-time at a local bank. She's in therapy twice a month. None of them contact me directly. The boundary holds. Some days I grieve what never was, what might have been. The idea of a mother who asks how you are and listens. A father who shows up to your awards ceremony instead of your sister's hair appointment. A sibling who sees you not as competition, but as family. But I also know this. I am no longer that girl who whispered apologies into her own voice. I am the woman who built something from the silence. And I'm not invisible anymore. Tonight, I'll water the garden I planted from scratch. Tomatoes, herbs, even wild roses. Some things, when pruned just right, grow back stronger. The roots I've built may not be where I came from, but they are real, and they are mine. Sometimes people ask me if I regret it. Not bailing them out, not folding back into the family like nothing ever happened. They wonder if I was being petty, if it was about revenge. It wasn't. It was about truth. It was about choosing myself after years of being the last one chosen. About understanding that love without respect isn't love at all. It's manipulation dressed up as duty. I didn't burn the bridge. I just stopped pretending it led somewhere worth going. And when you finally stop begging to be seen, something remarkable happens. You become visible to yourself. So no, I don't regret the silence. I don't regret the distance. I don't regret the line I drew in the sand and refused to cross, even when they begged. That wasn't revenge. That was clarity. That was healing. And maybe that's the quietest, most powerful kind of justice there is. So I'll ask you now, what would you do if the people who overlooked you suddenly needed you? Would you help? Would you walk away? Or would you finally do what no one ever did for you? Choose yourself? Because that might just change everything. If you've ever been the one who stayed quiet, who worked hard, who waited to be noticed, this story was for you. And if you've ever had to choose yourself, even when it hurt, you already know how brave that is. Tell us in the comments, have you ever walked away from someone who only called when they needed you? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if this story moved you. Every voice matters here. especially the ones who were silent for too long. This is the art of revenge. Not about hurting them, about